Alright, I'm back. It's the next day. At the beginning of this video, I showed you how much the parts I got for this would have cost from Sawzilla and from Wolf Creek Saw Shop. Now, kind of what I was going to get at there is I could have just replaced the seals in this saw and it would probably work for quite a while. But my only question would be for how long? I'm already in there doing seals, and like I said, I've got all the other 70cc saws I can use. So I might as well, since, let me show you a little bit better in the light. You see all that black sawdust right there? This thing's had some kind of a rough time. It's also a 2013 model. So how long would it run if I just did the seals? I could even do the intake boot. I'm not sure how many years I'd get out of it, but in my mind it's just as good to do a piston, bearings, seals, intake. I think Wolf Creek didn't have the impulse line, but Sawzilla didn't have the carb kit, so we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, I'm going to start taking this down a little bit, and I'll set up to do a pressure vac test on the 924, just because I promised you I would. So I've got the gasket there, I've got my piece of rubber. Let's turn the clutch down a little bit. There we go. Alright, that's plugging the exhaust port now so that we can actually do a pressure vac test. If I have to pull a clutch or something, I probably won't. But this is mainly just to show how you do a pressure vac test on one of these saws. I'm trying to make sure I keep this all in frame for you. After I do this pressure vacuum test, I'm going to go ahead and start stripping down that 460. I think I'm just going to take that, I don't know if I can. Got it, finally. God, that was a tough one right there. All right, there we go. All right, I'm gonna put a nut on each one of those because I don't want to over tighten into the plastic and crack something. And there we go. All right, just on pressure. All right, give me just a second. I'll cave and we'll do this. Sprocket looks like it's in really good shape. Nothing from around there. Wherever it is, I've got a freaking massive air leak. Sorry, the clutch. It's either the clutch or the flywheel side seal is out. If I had to hazard a guess, judging by the amount of bleed off I'm getting, but I don't want to make this whole video about that. I'm going to get reset up and we're going to go back to working on a 460. I'll finish tearing this down later once I actually find the parts. All right, let's get back to this for a little bit. This is more or less what I actually want to be working on right now, because I want to work on that 924, but I don't have a cylinder for it, and I'm going to have to find a cylinder for it. I may have to find a piston for it. I know for a fact I'm going to have to find rings for it. So let's tear this thing down for a we're going to wash the crankcases, and we're going to give it a thorough deep clean and then do a rebuild on it. I'm still concerned about seeing Durco around that, but can't really help it right now, so we'll just see what we see. We'll see what happens when we get in there. All right, let me flip this thing over. Gosh darn it. There's another one. They're starting to make me mad with some of that. This is a really nice saw, but you can't go putting the plastic screws or the metal screws in there. That's just going to tear it up. All right, I do prefer to actually use a flywheel puller on these. This is a flywheel puller for STIHLs. They have an external thread and an internal thread. You don't have to go to town with a hammer. You don't have to bash up the end of a $200 crankshaft. We'll just run this thing out. I was using it on something big, I guess, here a while back. Probably, if I had to hazard a guess, a 660 or a 661. I'm going to run that down. Right about there. Pop that thing over real quick. Grab my scrunch. That is a piston stop right there. Probably one of my favorite tools for doing these. I like using that pull cord, but sometimes this just works so much smoother. Right there. It was that easy right there. It's had a bit of a rough life, but I got to do something to fix that, and something to fix that starter one. There we go. I'm already seeing a couple other little things I'm going to have to fix, like somebody shot a wood screw up to hold the tank protector on. So there's actually a sharp piece of a screw head sticking through there. I know I can fix that pretty quick with some JB Weld for plastic, and that'll even be pretty close to the right color. The way I like to do these, didn't even break, it just popped out. Beautiful, I like that. I might need to look at doing some AV mounts for this poor saw. Alright, the AV mounts being a little bit messed up. I know running a 32 to a 36 isn't great for, I know that's not great for AV mounts, but I think some of it goes back to just how you run your saw. If you're getting your saw stuck and yanking it out, that's not going to do anybody any good. Alright, you just roll it forward a little bit like that and it'll come out. Alright, now this is the way I do these. Even though I'm not saving that intake boot, I'm going to show you. I reach in with my thumb and I start pressing the intake boot, the intake manifold through the hole. Kill switch wires. Yeah, I want to do it that way. Alright, so I'm going to reach in here. That's not wanting to come off right there, so I'm going to come back here with a screwdriver and real gentle. We're not going to go crazy, just a palm. Better do a T-handle on that one. Now, I did have this saw running before, but I'm kind of liking that I'm seeing where some of this nonsense is before I get out in the field and have issues with it. Alright, Roll it back out again. There we go. And I just popped that impulse line right here. I just popped that off with my finger. No real stress. You can see somebody shot a screw in right here. For right there. We'll correct that. I'm not gonna roll with a saw quite like that. Overall, I'm not disappointed. It's a used saw. It's an older saw. There we go. All right. Just the little balls of sawdust in there. If I've got any spares of those, I'll probably throw one in. Okay, the way I like to do this, pop that forward. And now we're going to use a screwdriver on this. I'll show you. There it went. Came right off. All right, there's a retaining clip right there. Take the retaining clip off, spring. Now there's one more little screw right here. I think that's our last little piece of protective plastic. Okay. There we go. Yep. I'd be interested someday to do a 064 if I can ever get my hands on one. There we go. We got all this taken apart so I can give this a thorough cleaning. Now we're down to the cylinder. I'm gonna pull the cylinder, and tomorrow I will do a video about the crankcase. There we go. Okay. That is another good reason that I'm glad I tore this thing down. So this is a steel cylinder. It's 1128A steel. But all this right here, this was on the inside lip. Look at that. All that was on the inside of the crankcase, the inside of the cylinder. Right around here, there's another big, looks kind of like snot almost. And here's another chunk right here. All right, there is something severely wrong with the crank bearings. My connecting rod is good on this one, I believe. Yeah, connecting rod is good. There's something up with the crank bearings. Tomorrow we'll do a more involved exploration. It looks like it's ingested a little bit of fines or something on that side. The cylinder is in really good shape, but it needs, I'll hone it, and I'm not doing what that person did. That is just nasty. I don't even know what to think about that. But yeah, I will be back sometime tomorrow. I'll do I'll finish tearing it down, and we'll figure out what's wrong with these. There's something wrong with one of the bearings. I'll talk to you later. Take it easy. Bye.